This is NetMaven. Today we're going to talk about Cisco Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator with Cisco ACI. Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator provides the consistent network policy orchestration, scalability, disaster recovery across multiple DC through a single pane of glass, where allowing data center to go wherever the data is. The dashboard allows us to interconnect to separate APEC side, Cisco ACI side. The dashboard also does a single pane of glass for administration, orchestration, multiple network fabric for both ACI and NDFC. It does automation of configuration and management of the inter-site interconnects across IP backbone for both ACI and NDFC for VXLAN network. It does a consistent multi-tenant policy across the multiple sites, which allows IP mobility, disaster recovery, and active use cases for data centers. The orchestrator does actually inter-site control plane. The endpoint reachability information is exchanged multiple sites using MPBGP EVPN control plane, and this approach allows to exchange the MACs and addresses information for endpoint that communicates across sites. So MPBGP EVPN sessions are established between the spine nodes deployed in separate fabrics that are managed by the same instance of Cisco Nexus dashboards. In this diagram, all communications layer 2, layer 3 between endpoints connected to different sites is achieved by establishing the site-to-site VXLAN tunnels across genetic IP address and interconnects the various sites. So this IP network has no specific function requirements other than the capability to support routing and increase the MTU sites for VXLAN encapsulation. Let's log on to my Nexus dashboard, go to admin console, and we'll go to create our first site. The site, we're going to add a site type, we'll make sure it's ACI, and the name we're going to make is called San Francisco. And I'm posting the fully qualified domain name of the APEC. And scroll down, I'm going to drop the location of San Francisco in the map. Click Save, Confirm. So San Francisco is listed in the sites list and the connectivity status is up. Now we must add a second site to the Nexus dashboard. So we're going to add a site, choose ACI as the site type, and we're going to type in New York. Similar, we're going to type in a fully qualified domain name. And we're going to drop the location of New York. And so wait until the software discovers the New York site and verify that both sites are showing up in the connectivity status and that the configuration URL are correct. When both site connectivity show up, we'll go to the aux site and we'll go to orchestrator. In orchestrator, we'll still go to the site and we'll change the two sites as managers. And at the same time, we're going to assign a site ID. As the New York, you're going to assign to manage it and site ID 2. And San Francisco, we're going to assign as site ID 1. We are waiting for successful notification after changing this change. The dashboard discovers all APIC controllers in the cluster automatically. In the next step, we'll do some day zero infrastructure configuration. We'll perform the day zero configuration for interconnecting ACI fabric sites, which is managed from multi-site manager. Let's jump to my APIC in San Francisco, and in the welcome to the APIC, we're going to quickly go to the quick starts and the ACI fabric setup. We're going to begin with our BGP configuration, and we're going to type in the AS autonomous system number. So we can type in is the 565001, and we check on all the spine nodes, and we're going to click save. So we're seeing, even though there are additional configuration sections marked as mandatory, like DNS, DNDP, inter-site proxy, they are not relevant to this lab, and I can leave them unconfigured. So we're gonna go ahead, proceed to the summary, and we're gonna close it. We're gonna go ahead to the fabric and access policy. In the top menu, it expands the physical and external domains. And we're going to click L3 domain. In the tool menu, we're going to create the L3 domain. The L3 domain, we're going to name it as multi-site external L3 domain. And we're going to submit this change. Now we're going to change to my New York APIC. I'm going to do the similar. To the ACI fabric, we're going to begin the BGP settings. So for the BGP settings, we're going to enter 65002 in the autonomous number and check all the spine nodes. Click save. All spine nodes are showing configured. That's good. And so we're going to close the setup to overview, and I'll go to fabric, access policies, and in the physical and the external domains, expand it in L3 domain. We're going to create L3 domain similarly to the San Francisco site, multi-site. Click submit. We're going to return to my dashboard in the orchestrator. We're going to go to infrastructure and secure site connectivity. We're going to show BGP OS best setting page, and we're going to click configure the page. Select San Francisco in the side menu and add it. We're going to add an infrastructure setting for site 1. Let's highlight spine 1 and then click the add port. We're going to enter the port ID, the 532. It's the port for the multi-site. And IP address, we're just going to enter 10.1.0.1/31. the MTU 9216. For OSPF, we're going to enable the OSPF for underlay. The policy will use default MSC OSPF policy default, and I'll click save. Now here we're going to check the BGP peer. We're going to enter is the site. So we're going to enter is the BGP EVPN routes ID. Route ID, you're going to enter 10.1.100.1. Later, we're going to select the spine 2. And we're going to add a port to the spine 2, 5.32. The IP address, we're going to enter 10.1.0.3.31. MTU is 9216. Similarly, you're going to enable the OSPF, choose default policy, click save. And the peer, we're going to toggle the peer. We're going to make it BGP route ID. For next, we're going to select the whole plot and we'll go overview, overlay unicast tab. So San Francisco is going to use the 10.1.100.100. All right. Now we're going to select the whole site, site San Francisco, and we'll make sure the multi-site is on and the overlay multicast tab. We're going to use 10.1.100.200 and the BGP autonomous member 65001 and OSPF area ID 0, area type, we're going to say regular, external domain, we just created for the external domain in each APIC. Now we are all fine for deploy the San Francisco site. We're gonna wait, and the successful message just showed up. Deploy deploy message and connect infrastructure menu is showing up already with all the configuration we just set up. Now we shall configure the New York. New York, we're gonna choose the New York, and we're gonna click the spine 1. And it's now we're gonna add a port for spine 1 in New York. The interface IP, we're gonna choose 10.2.0.1/31. The port we're gonna pick is a 5.32 and MTU 9216. Enable OSPF, save. So, and similar, we're gonna toggle BGP peer. That's gonna be 10.2.100.1. Click spine 2. The spine 2, we're gonna use still 532, 10.2.0.3.31, and remember MTU 9216, OSPF, enable, toggle the BGP peer. This we're gonna pick is 10.2.100.2, and we're gonna pick the whole pot. the part, we're gonna say the overlay unicast tab. That's 10.2.100.100. And we're gonna pick this whole site, track multi-site, the overlay multicast tab. It's gonna be 10.2.100.200. And BGP number 65002. West Area ID is 0. It's regular AS number. External domain. We already set up for New York in the Epic. Now we shall go ahead to click deploy. Then we go to my Epic, and for the tenants, in the infrastructure, we are going to see the policies, and what we're going to see is the fabric. See the fabric extend connection policy. In the community, we're going to enter the extend community. In the work plane, we double click the pod ID, the pod ID 1. In the data plane tab, we're going to add a subnet. That's 10.1.200.200/32 and click update and click close. Check submit change. Go to tenant, infrastructure tenant, and we're going to expand the networking. We'll click the elsewhere out. In intersite, and Wi-Fi elsewhere out is called the intersite. Has been configured under the infrastructure tenant. So that shows the infrastructure elsewhere out has been successfully configured on the Epic for site 1. Go to my New York tenant. We're going to go to the tenant, the infrastructure, and we're going to go to policy. And infrastructure policy, we're going to navigate protocol. Under fabric standards connection policies, click the first one, and we're going to enter similar. Extended we could just copy where here is this. ES2. Okay. Gonna to check if the pod ID has the multi-site unicast data plane tab. IP is already configured. That's 10.2.100.100. That's what I'm gonna change. We're gonna to add the data plane tab. That's gonna be 10.2.200.200/32. Okay. Close. Now we have the data plane tab. Click Submit. Now, New York, the Fabric Standard Connection, we have Data tab and Multi-Site Unicast tab, and this for New York, and check San Francisco, we have configured a similar. Places, go to networking, we can also verify the inter-site elsewhere else configured. To jump back my dashboard, we're going to create a tenant in the Nexus dashboards that will be deployed across the both sites. So this is a greenfield tenant that doesn't currently exist at any site, and the configuration will be pushed to both sites at the same time. So in the dashboard orchestrator, we're going to go to is the uh, application management. Click tenant. Oh, by the way, we just jump to site, and you will see the sites are all connected. If I go to the dashboard, you'll see a right line connected for the APEC. And the two sides in a map view. Anyway, go to the tenant. Going to add a tenant. The tenant name, we're going to name it per pseudocode. And we're going to check all associated sites here. And we are going to save it. The pseudocode tenant is just created. Now let's return back to my tenants in San Francisco or tenants. We just see a pseudocode tenant is created, and go to New York APEC. We found a pseudo tenant is also created in New York APEC. In the next, what we want to talk about is the ACI multi-site use cases. So it's L3 only communication across the site, intra-tenant and intra-VIF. So this use case will tell us the L3 communication across sites, the tenant and the VIF objects will be stretched across site. But bridge domain, subnets, and EPGs configuration will be local each site. The BDs in San Francisco are web BD, EPG are going to be a web EPG, and New York we're going to have app BD, and EPG is app EPG. In between the contract, the web to app contract, but the site and VF are all shared. So this is called we call the schema. In the dashboards, we're going to navigate to application management, go to schemas. We're going to add schema. Is the schema going to be L3 stretch schema? Going to add this schema. So the schema contains templates. Templates are associated to one or more sites and are used to define the objects that will be stressed between sites and will remain site local. In the schema L3 stretch schema, we're going to add a template. The template we're going to be choosing is ACI Multi-Cloud, and I'll click Add. Click the template name. We're going to change the template as San Francisco and New York template. In the template setting, we are going to choose pseudo tenant. Then click create an object. We are gonna to create a VIF object. The VIF we're gonna name it as VRF1. So because the object in the template will be stretched across both sides, it must associate with both sides. Click action. We're gonna site association. Gonna pick both sides and click OK. So you are seeing it out of sync. That's because when configuration is added to the dashboard, there's a save schema button and deploy site button, and saving the template configuration saves it to the dashboard database, but it doesn't make any changes to the Apex. Only after selected deploy to the site is configuration change pushed to the Apex. At this point in the configuration, we have added a template and created a VIF, but have not saved nor deployed the configuration. Therefore, we're going to click Save Schema to save the configuration to the dashboard without deploying to the Apex. And you will be seeing the out of sync two sites, and we'll click Deploy the site. And the window will appear showing which changes will be deployed to which site. Then we'll continue click deploy. Now two sites in sync. So now wait for successful messages where we'll add to. Now I'm gonna add a template, San Francisco only template, and associate to pursue the tenant. So this tenant will contain the bridge domain, subnets, and EPGs that will be locally deployed to the site 1. So in the schema, we're going to click add a new template. Template name, we're going to name as San Francisco only. Still choose pseudo tenant. In the application, still gonna create objects. It's gonna be creating is the application profile AP. So the AP we're going to name as web app. We create a web app application profile. We're gonna add a EPG. Gonna EPG with name as web to the display name, and in the drop down menu here we have to associate with the bridge domain. So that's tricky or don't find any bridge domain, we're gonna to type in the web DB. It says WebDB was not found. Click to create. We're gonna create bridge domain, web bridge domain. Sorry. All right. Now check WebBD, uncheck L2 stretch. Click yes. The L2 stretch box is unchecked. The option to add a bridge domain is removed. This subnet, because the bridge domain becomes local, the site local configuration will be covered in next steps. And click the web BD, and we're going to choose the VIF1. Click action, we're going to associate a site to as San Francisco. Click OK. At the top, we're going to save the schema and click deploy to the site. This tells us what I'm going to create, and in the Epic San Francisco, click deploy. I'm seeing the successful deploy message, and in sync is 1. Just check temporary property. San Francisco shows in sync. We're going to select the bridge domain and then we're going to click the WebDB check here to stretch back, and we're going to add is the gateway IP. Gateway 10.1.1.254 size 24. Click OK. Then we're going to go to save schema, deploy the site, await the temporary deployed, and temporary is in sync with San Francisco Epic. So the EPG we'll click here is associated to the domain, then the domain association and the static path binding configurations are also down from the dashboard. It will obviously set local configuration task, and it will be configured from selecting the site, just as what was done for the bridge domain subnets. And for now, we created the San Francisco only templates. We're going to repeat all the steps for New York only template. So let's close this. We're going to add a new template. Choose ACI Multi-Cloud, and we're going to change to NY only. The tenant we're going to make is pseudo. We're going to create an object a application profile. This one is going to be web app. Going to add EPG. EPG name is app. We're going to create the new bridge domain because API bridge domain. Now create a bridge domain. In the click the bridge domain app BD, choose the VNF and add a subnet 10.1.2.254.254/24. Click OK. There at this point, both sites have been configured with a tenant called pseudo and application profile called a web app. A web EPG and bridge domain has been configured in San Francisco, and an app EPG bridge domain has been configured for New York. There's no communication at this time between the site and the bridge domain. And the web bridge domain subnet in San Francisco is not known to New York and vice versa for the app bridge domain in the New York. So I need a contract in order to allow communication between the sites and advertise endpoint app address information between sites. So since this contract will be used by both EPG, we'll configure it under the San Francisco and New York template. So for all, we're gonna to save the schema, and we're gonna to deploy it to site association to New York, and we're gonna to deploy to the site. Now I'm saying the New York templates and synchronize. Click the view, new San Francisco and New York template. I'm saying both the New York only and San Francisco only templates are on in synchronize. So in this SF New York template, we're going to create a contract. Create object, contract. The contract is going to be web to app. And so we're going to create is the future. The future was going to be ending. We're going to add an entry. Click OK. And it's going to be ending permit. We're then going to save the schema. I'm going to deploy it to the site. So now I will add the web to app provider contract to the web EPG and in the San Francisco only template, and the web to app consumer contract to the app EPG in the New York only template. So this will enable application tiers to communicate between sites as long as they are deployed in the same tenant. So in the vertical, and we're going to change to SF only. In here, EPG, we're going to assign to EPG. And in the web, we're going to add a contract web to app consumer. This is going to be a provider for San Francisco. And we're going to later on gonna change to the New York only and click app EPG. Should find name contract. Click this contract. It's gonna be a consumer because of the app. Click OK. Save the schema. Now we're going to deploy the schema New York only template to New York site, and I'm finally going to deploy the San Francisco only template to the San Fran APIC. Now see all the templates are in sync. So when the contracts is applied to the web and app, EPGs in the web EPG and bridge domain are pushed to the New York site, and the app EPG bridge domain are pushed to the San Francisco site. So I will verify the configuration in the APIC. So log into San Francisco APIC. We're gonna navigate to tenant per sudo. That's automatically created by our orchestrator. And per sudo, we're gonna navigate to application profiles, web app. Now we are seeing is the EPG's web and the contracts associated for the provider web to app. and continue to see what's going to configure in the networking bridge domain. We have create a bridge to bridge domain, web and app the bridge domain, and the subnet is here. And we can navigate to the web app. In the topology, I'm seeing the consumer contract and the app contract that allow the EPGs to communicate. Go to New York, Epic, tenants, prosciutto. In the web app EPG, I can see the app EPG. Go to topology, I can see the same contract is already here. And the contract used for the app is a consumer. Expand the networking. The bridge domain has also been created, and the subnet is already created for us. So next we'll discuss is L3 owning communication across sites and via shared service. So these use case is similar to one complete to enable L3 communication across sites. The difference is this use case provides shared services access to resources that are deployed in a site as part of a dedicated shared VIF bridge domain EPC object. So just as you see the diagram here, the web and the web in the VIF will be sharing in the San Francisco site. Will be able to access the other EPG called DNS in New York site, and their communication is through a contract web to DNS to a shared bridge domain. That's that holds the EPG DNS. Let's go back to my dashboard, orchestrator. In the orchestrator, we're gonna navigate to application management and schema. Click L3 stretch schema. Then we're gonna pick New York owning template from the view, and we're gonna create a new object. We'll be selecting a VIF. The VIF we'll be creating is called shared VIF. And we'll be creating is the new bridge domain. How do we do that? Add a bridge domain, and we're gonna share bridge domain. VIF, we're gonna choose shared VIF instead. And next, we're gonna add a gateway subnet, sub gateway IP 10.10.1.1, 10.2.245, 254, and 24. And this time will be click shared between V and F. This will be shared between the VIF. Let's create a new EPG. This EPG gonna be DNS, and the bridge domain we're gonna pick shared bridge domain. So because the EPG provides services to other EPGs, so we must remember to add AppNet information and the EPG at this level. Here we're gonna add a subnet 10.10.1.254, so 24, and they're gonna be shared between VF, and we don't know the full SVI gateway checked. So the sole purpose of defining IP subnets information and the provider EPGs to enable necessary VF route leaking function between the shared VF and the other VF access in shared services. The IP subnet is configured as a bridge domain provided default gateway services. So it's important to select the no default SVI a gateway flag in the EPG level. Okay, so next we're gonna create a Web 2 DNS contract. We're gonna hold back to the San Francisco, New York template. Create is the contract. The contract name is gonna be Web 2 DNS. The scope will be make it to tenant. And the filter chain, we're gonna to add a filter. Then we're gonna select any. Click OK. So now we're gonna to save the schema. And we're going to click to push deploy to the site. And similarly, I'm gonna to go to New York only, and we're gonna to go to the DNS, and then under here contract, we're gonna add a contract. Gonna be the Web 2 DNS, and the type will be provider at the defined here. Now save schema, and we'll deploy to New York Epic. So they will be consumed by the San Francisco Epic. We're going to click web, and we're going to add a contract on existing web to app. We're going to add to the web DNS, the consumer. It's going to be consumer for San Francisco, all the web applications. Then we're going to click deploy to the site. So let's go to my San Francisco Epic. What we can verify is the topology. Topology, refresh it, and then we'll see a new contract is called Web2DNS, and it's consumed by the web application in the web app EPG, and there's a new EPG configured to the DNS. Go to my New York EPG app. We're gonna web app and see the similar setup. Then the DNS EPG is already created, and there we have a shared bridge domain. And in the DNS bridge domain, you will find the subnets and no default SVI gateway because these VF leaking. And next we'll discuss about is the IP mobility cross sites, which cause such stretch the bridge domain without bomb flooding. So in this use case, the requirement is to have the IP mobility cross sites share the same bridge domain and subnet, but without enable the bomb traffic. So bomb flooding. So this use case is typical for disaster recovery sites where there's no requirement for mobility or vMotion across sites, but allow application to be brought up at the DR site without having to re-IP the application servers. So the suppression of the bomb flooding across the site provides more resilience across the site, since the problem, like a broadcast storming hitting site one, won't be able to propagate to other site. So in a new bridge domain called DB bridge domain, where we provision for both San Francisco and New York site, and enable list use case on the pseudo tenant. Hook back to my orchestrator. We are gonna to navigate to the San Fran New York template. We're gonna create a new object. It's gonna be a new bridge domain. So the new bridge domain, gonna call it DB database bridge domain, and it's the VF. We're gonna use VF1, and for the uh, inter-site bomb traffic allow, we're gonna uncheck it. So it tells you the option where reside of the bandwidth, blah blah blah. Say yes, and that's we're gonna disable the bomb traffic crossing the multiple sites. For the subnet, we're gonna add a new subnet to this bridge database. 10.3.1.254/24. Gonna click OK. So at this point, there are no EPGs that are shared across sites. So the web app application profile hasn't been configured under San Francisco and New York template. So we're gonna save this schema. So we're staying in the San Fran New York templates, and we're creating an object. What object? We're going to create an application profile, English San Fran New York template. We'll stay on it here. So we're going to create it is the web app, and we're gonna to add a EPG name bridge database. And in the bridge domain, we're gonna say the bridge database bridge domain. Now we can save the schema and deploy to the site. Now let's go ahead and verify in the San Francisco APEC. See the new bridge database EPG has been created. And we'll just navigate to web app, application profile, click topology. I'm seeing there's database EPG created for New York APEC. I'm sure I'm seeing is the web app application profile created under the topology. We're not seeing it. Refresh it, and we're going to go see the topology. Topology looks right. In the next, we will be a important use case because this will be deployed in migration scenarios where ACI had already been deployed in a fabric. Now there's a requirement to connect the existing fabric to a new greenfield ACI environment using the Nexus dashboard orchestrator. This implies that ACI Multi-Site Policy Manager will be inserted in the deployment and both sides will be added to it. So use this procedure to import existing configuration for a tenant from the brownfield ACI fabric and stretch the objects associated to that tenant towards one greenfield ACI fabric. So in this lab, the brownfield is San Francisco and greenfield fabrics in New York. So if you look at it here, is the brownfield in San Francisco tenant. We have the AP, brownfield EPG in the networking. We have the bridge domain, brownfield bridge domain, and the VIF is defined in the San Francisco APIC. Return to dashboards, we'll go to the application, to the orchestrator, and navigate application management and tenants. We're going to add a tenant. In the associate side or the associated both, San Francisco and New York. So in display name, we're gonna enter brownfield, and I'm gonna click save. We'll continue application management schemas. What we're gonna do is to add a schema. The name is gonna be migration template. Sorry, migration schema. Gonna save the schema, and we're gonna add new template, ACI Multi-Cloud, and we're gonna add a template called cancel. We're gonna select the tenant, it's brownfield, and we're gonna save the schema. Now there's a import button showed up. This is San Francisco. In the window, we're gonna pick a app AP, and we're gonna click import. Then click the brownfield bridge domain. We want to see the configuration isn't stretched. What we're gonna do? We're gonna check the add to stretch to allow to the greenfield site. Say yes, and we're gonna check it will automatically check the insert bomb traffic allow. That's what I expected. Now the configuration has been imported to the orchestrator, so we'll require to push the object towards the ACI fabric, which is the New York site. We notice the template name is called template 0. We are going to rename it. I'll name it to migration template. Now we should associate site to New York. Click OK. And we're going to just save the schema. And we're going to deploy to the sites. So now it's time to go to my New York epic. Why I click this? Anyway, so we are finding a brown fields newly added in the New York epic, and everything should be here. Everything is here. So that all concludes the whole lab. Thank you for watching.